You ever feel like you're seeing a bunch of different news stories and you just know they're all pieces of a much bigger puzzle? Well, that's exactly what we're digging into today. We are going to connect the dots between a huge crypto sentencing, a major policy change at YouTube, and even some comments from a former president. It's all part of one of the biggest shifts happening in finance right now. Okay, let's get into it.
And look, this isn't some wild idea from the fringes. This is a direct quote from a former SEC commissioner, Paul Atkins, a top regulator. He's basically saying, point blank, that the very foundation of U.S. financial markets is changing in a massive way. This one sentence, it really frames everything we're about to talk about.
So, what does on-chain even mean? Let's just make sure we're all on the same page here. To put it simply, it's about moving financial activity from all these separate private databases onto a blockchain. You can think of it like a giant shared receipt book that everyone can see. It makes everything transparent, easy to verify, and permanent. This is the core tech that's making all this change possible.
Right, so to really understand where we're going, we first have to talk about what we're leaving behind. What we're witnessing right now is the end of an era. The chaotic, unregulated Wild West days of crypto are fading, and they're fading fast.
And you know, nothing says the party's over quite like this. Terra Luna's founder, Kwon, has been sentenced to 15 years in prison. And look, this isn't just about one guy getting punished. This is a massive signal being sent to the entire industry.
So here's the key takeaway. This sentencing draws a really hard line in the sand. It's basically saying the days of doing whatever you want with no consequences, yeah, those are over. Accountability has arrived, and it's officially closing the book on that first chaotic chapter of crypto.
And right as that chapter is closing, you've got the regulators clearing the deck. The CFTC, another huge U.S. regulator, is officially getting rid of what it's calling outdated crypto guidance. They are literally throwing out the old rulebook because they're getting ready to write a brand new one for a much more mature industry.
So, as the old system gets torn down, what's being built to replace it? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. We're now seeing the new financial rails being laid down for a future that is both regulated and on-chain.
And this slide really gets to the heart of why this is all happening. Just look at the comparison. We are moving from a system that's slow, where you can't see what's happening, and that only works from 9 to 5, to a new system that's instant, totally transparent, and runs 24/7. This isn't just a small upgrade, it's a completely different way of thinking about finance. And let me be clear, this isn't some far-off theory. This is happening right now, at the very core of the entire financial system. The SEC has given the green light to a plan from the DTCC, that's the organization that handles pretty much every stock trade in the US, to start turning assets like stocks and bonds into digital tokens. I mean, you can't get much bigger than this. So how does this actually work? Well, it's a process called tokenization, and it's actually simpler than it sounds. Step 1. You take a real-world asset, like a share of stock, and you create a digital twin for it, a token. Step 2. You put that token onto a secure blockchain. And boom, step 3, that token can now be traded instantly, anytime, day or night, anywhere in the world. It's all about making physical things behave like digital things. But it's not just about the assets. For this whole new system to actually work, it needs rocket fuel. And that fuel is reliable, high-speed data. So right now, we're seeing these critical data highways being built, networks designed specifically to feed top-tier, institutional-grade financial data directly onto blockchains. This is the plumbing that's going to power this new on-chain world. Okay, I know this all sounds pretty high level, Wall Street infrastructure, data highways, but this isn't just a theory anymore. This on-chain transition is already starting to pop up in our everyday lives. And here is the perfect example. YouTube, one of the biggest platforms on the planet. They are now giving their creators in the US the option to get paid in crypto stablecoins. This is a real-world use case that affects millions and millions of people. This is where the rubber really meets the road.
That's a fair question, right? Why would anyone choose this over just getting good old-fashioned dollars in their bank account? Well, the reasons are actually super practical.
Just look at this breakdown. Instead of waiting days for a bank transfer, you can get your money in minutes. You get to skip those expensive wire transfer fees, which is a huge deal for international creators. It makes payments seamless no matter where you are in the world. And your money is available 24/7, not just when the bank happens to be open. This is what it actually means for you, the user.
Now, it's really important to remember that this whole technological revolution isn't happening in a bubble. So let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger economic and political stuff going on at the same time, because that's what's creating the perfect environment for this kind of massive change.
For instance, you've got these huge policy debates happening at the very highest levels. Here, you have former President Trump connecting the stock market's performance directly to tariffs. What this really shows is that the fundamental rules of the traditional economy, things we've always taken for granted, are now actively up for debate. And that uncertainty can make a new, alternative system look pretty attractive.
And it doesn't stop there. Another idea being talked about is potentially getting rid of taxes on gambling winnings. Now, again, the specific policy isn't really the point here. The big takeaway is that the foundational rules about money and assets are all being questioned. That's what makes a transparent, rule-based system, like on-chain finance, such a powerful idea for the future.
And while all these debates are happening, we're seeing real changes in the economic data. This chart shows the U.S. trade deficit has actually shrunk to its lowest point since 2020. It's big global economic shifts like this that really make the case for a financial system that's more efficient, that works 24/7, and that's truly global, which is exactly what on-chain finance offers.
And this wave of disruption isn't just in finance. Look at this. Disney is plowing $1 billion into OpenAI. It just goes to show you that huge amounts of money are flowing into other game-changing technologies like AI. And it's all happening at the exact same time. We're in a period of these massive, parallel disruptions.
Okay, so we have covered a ton of ground here, from prison sentences to YouTube payments and the plumbing of Wall Street. So let's just bring it all home. What is the one big story you should take away from all of this?
Here's the whole thing in 4 key points. First, the lawless, Wild West days of crypto are done. Second, a new, serious, and regulated financial system is being built right now using blockchain tech. Third, this isn't some 10 years from now fantasy. Mainstream companies are already jumping on board. And finally, this entire shift is happening at a moment when our economy and other technologies are also going through huge changes.
This whole story isn't just about traders or tech nerds anymore. This is about the fundamental building blocks of finance being moved onto completely new rails. And as everything, from your stocks to your paycheck, starts moving on-chain, the real question isn't if it's happening, but how are you going to be a part of this new financial world?